Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Alien and I'm a full-time contemporary artist. Andy Warhol said that in the future everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. And now it's my chance to take my 15 minutes of fame. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how I started. I dreamt of being an artist since a very young age. I went to the art school and I was sure that I'm going to continue studying painting in the art college. But my parents told me it will not bring me financial stability and they want me to have a better education, so we agreed that I will go to study architecture, and then if I want, I will be able to continue with art. By completing this education, of course, I didn't start doing my art, but I found a compromise in interior design. For many years, I've forgotten about desire to work with art at all. Everything has changed in 2020 when we moved to Copenhagen. I realized that to start everything from the scratch in a new country, I can choose any profession to start everything over. I started thinking if I want to be maybe a stylist or makeup artist or illustrator, graphic designer, something even smaller than interior design, until I visited an art fair in Copenhagen. There have been a lot of people buying artworks, going out with paintings, like with groceries from the grocery store. I realized that, wow, people can buy art, really, they need it. And I started paying attention to the interiors, and from these huge windows in contemporary buildings, houses in Copenhagen, I've noticed that there is no room without paintings or posters. That's how in 2020 I started thinking of becoming an artist. I've been experimenting with acrylic painting, oils, watercolors. It was a period of experimentation. I realized that I want to continue that series called Self-Portrait. This is the work from that series that I created in 2020. Here I used only dry petals on recycled cardboard. It is a series about realizing of who I am as a human and my connection with the planet. In 2021, we moved to Stockholm. I was still not sure that I'm able to work with art, and I applied for master's degree both in interior design and fine art. Unfortunately, I was not accepted. The competition is very high, and I applied for the kind of art college, and I produced a series of these works during that period. It's called Mona no Aware. It's Japanese concept about empathy towards things and sadness about passing time. So I collected these sakura petals. This tree is a symbol of this Mona no Aware in Japan. And when people see these cherry blossom petals falling down after the very short and very beautiful period of blossoming, they experience this feeling that cannot be actually described but can be felt. So it was my first abstract series, and I worked on it during the 2021 and the beginning of 2022. I was obligated to find a separate studio to work with epoxy resin because it is toxic, and I was not allowed to work with it in school. I had no connections. I was crying because it was really hard. I asked myself, if I have a choice, and I had a choice, would I go to the architectural office again, or I would choose my way as an artist again? And the answer was clear, for sure. I wanted to continue with my art, to continue with my materials. I've taken the decision, like, finally, this is the first thing that you should do if you are thinking of starting your career in contemporary art. You should take the final decision and never give up after that. You should choose your art every day. During that period, I also applied for that art fair I visited when I lived in Copenhagen. It's called Art Nordic. I was working in parallel on the second series of artworks called Flower. created some works to participate in the art fair in that series, but suddenly my friend asked me if I want to participate in the group show. Of course, I answered yes. Then I started thinking how I'm going to do that, because all the artworks supposed to be sent to that art fair, and the exhibition was at the same time in another city. As an emerging artist, you should say yes to all the opportunities that you have around, and later you can think about how you will do it. That's how my first group show happened. And after that, the curator of that show offered me to exhibit my works in the church, to create a solo show for this Mono no Avare series. It was 2022, and I already moved to Oslo at that time, in the middle of my education in Stockholm. But I said yes again, and I came to Stockholm to finish the series, to make the exhibition. I've been going here and there, bringing my artworks with me. I just went for it. I just decided that my art is the most important thing in my life now. And of course, I started doing my Instagram. I started working on my website. So you should push yourself out of your cave as much as possible, visit galleries, vernissages, talking with artists and visitors about the art exhibited there. And you should tell everyone about your art also, if there is interest. By doing this, I got my first contract in Oslo with the M35 gallery, and they've taken all the artworks that I had available for that time. These two works, they've been in Copenhagen in the gallery for that time after the art fair. These works were exhibited in Stockholm for that period, and they've taken the rest of that flower series that I cannot show you right now because it's now in the gallery in Bergen. But yeah, they've taken everything. And I was super happy that I found a gallery this way, and I started working on the new series. I wanted this time to add more color. It took me a long time to experiment. In a year, I found myself in depression, and I started to work with an art mentor. He pushed me to work faster, to apply for different open calls, exhibitions, and residencies. Helped me a lot to not to stuck in this research phase. One exhibition I was accepted for was a digital exhibition in NFT galleries, so I learned how to work with NFTs, and I created my first digital animation work. And just by taking this opportunity and starting doing something, I figured out what my next series will be about. I realized that artificial intelligence cannot work with the material that I work with. It has no access to nature, natural environment, natural materials. And I started working on this series, and it was my opportunity to get back to oil painting, which I love a lot, and to use my favorite natural materials and to work with contemporary technologies in the tech industry, and to exhibit my works both physically and digitally for it to make sense. To develop and produce this series, I applied for residency, worked on this series for 3 months, producing artworks and promoting them. Online residency helped me a lot to go out of my cave in the digital sense, because we've been doing interviews, digital open studios, had a sense of community again. I had the deadline, which helps a lot. If you feel that you're stuck with your artistic research or with your style or something, or you feel the lack of community, I highly recommend you to apply for some art residencies. In this art residency, we had a weekly What's On email, which showed us all the opportunities in Berlin in terms of open calls. And I was accepted to my first curated international show in Berlin. I'm going to go there and meet all curators and artists in person. This is actually how I started my artistic way 3 years ago. When I started my way, I've been learning stories of different artists. Amazing art that they do didn't bring them money for at least 5 years in the beginning. If you are an artist in the beginning of your art career, don't wait for an immediate result in terms of money. And Elizabeth Gilbert told a lot about that in her book Big Magic. Produce and share constantly, no breaks, never give up. In a month approximately, I'm moving to the UK and I'm going to share all my steps of starting from the scratch in completely new city with no connections, no local education, on YouTube, step by step, everything that I do. This is why I created this channel. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please press this like thing below and subscribe to my channel if you want to follow my journey.